you very much. I thought I was very much part of Kanpur not long ago, so possibly people should be able to remember. Today happens to be 23rd August. Just about 2 years ago, India actually managed to achieve something which never happened before. We have always been doing a changing our job, and 2 years ago, this country registered something which was absolutely pioneering. Obviously, I'm referring to the National Space Day, and there's Vikram landing on the southern hemisphere of the moon, first time in the world. This is a momentous day, and I didn't know that. I of course knew that Ashutosh has always been a visionary, but I didn't know that he would show his birthday with such a vision. Whether it's today or, I don't know, somewhere around this period I thought. I don't intend to make any formal presentation. I would rather use my 5-10 minutes time in sharing my perspectives about the core theme of this conference, the TRIPS, and then use the remaining time to share with you my idea about Ashutosh Sharma. The first method of this conference, economic TRIPS, should have been devoted to teaching. Technology is something that Ashutosh got more involved in at a much later part of his life, but he has always been a passionate teacher. So teaching, research, innovation, this would have been the right sequence. But nevertheless, I would like to start or share my perspectives from where Ashish left. We just had a very nice comparison of the current scenario in terms of India's technological progress and various priorities. I also was listening with a lot of interest about some of the predecessors who spoke about various gaps, various achievements, and so on. See, there is no denying the fact that India today, by virtue of its fourth largest economy, fourth largest GDP, is a mighty economy, and being the largest and the youngest population in the world is a huge demographic. It is a mighty force. And Ashish mentioned about policy. India is the second largest producer of steel, cement, and several other industrial products. Third largest producer of generator electricity, fourth largest producer of automobiles. And yet, there's a flip side, which is what probably many of us are worried about, and we'd like to bring to the notice of the entire scientific community. But to drive home my point, I would like to compare India's current situation with a country which is one of our South Asian neighbors and shares the independence. The country we're talking about has about 20 times less landmass area, about 1/3 of India's population, and less than half of India's GDP. If India is placed at 4th in terms of GDP, the country I'm referring to is placed at 13th position in terms of the numbers. But then this country has a gross enrollment ratio in the tertiary level, which is 3 times that of India. The government expenditure wise in terms of education is about the same, 4.1%, 4.9%. But R&D expenditure in terms of GDP, if this is 0.65%, which is what Ashish and many others expressed their concern about, the country I'm referring to has 8 times greater investment in the state and investments in science and innovation out of it. This country also has quite the amount of India's scope in terms of percentage GDP. India stands at 21%, this country I'm referring to at 44%. Likewise, if you go, one can go on in terms of electricity consumption. India is a low population of 3 times, but consumption per capita wise, India is 1/10. So, the country I'm referring to actually spends per capita 10 times more, consumes 10 times more energy. The literacy rate is 3 times higher. And most important, the Human Development Index. If India is placed at 130th, the country I'm referring to is placed at 20th. So, at 1947, if you trace these parameters, this country was certainly not even comparable, much lower in terms of any of these economic and social indices. Another staggering comparison is in the age group of 25 to 64, this is the age group where actually you expect an individual to earn and contribute to the country's economy. The population in this country is only 14 million, and but 39% or nearly 40% of this particular age group of the population, they all carry graduates. Whereas in India, the number of the population which is in this age group of 25 to 64 amounts to nearly 140 million, and only 14% of them carry graduates. So many of us tend to believe that in India everybody is at least a graduate. That's actually not always true. Now, why am I referring to this? I'm referring to this because we all are given a mandate, an ambition articulated by the Honorable Prime Minister that a few years from now, by 2047, when we reach, when we will be ready to celebrate the centenary of our independence, we should emerge by then as a developed nation, takes its part. So, if India is today seen as a developing nation, then India must not only produce more steel or cement, but actually improve its energy consumption per capita, human development index, and do much better in terms of various other social and economic standards. Most of these parameters, most of these requirements are of engineering nature. And hence, the policy, the various innovation objectives and targets that we set before us, they all would require many more competent engineers who are capable of defining, design, and executing various engineering tasks to our country's needs and contribute towards that direction. While we are certainly serious and pursuing this goal in our earnestness, but there are certain ground realities which need to be appreciated there. And in that direction, not just an eminent scientist, but by now a very celebrated technologist and policymaker, individuals like Ashutosh Sharma has made contributions, but will be much more remains to be done. In fact, the country I was referring to, I hope Ashutosh will be able to recall. There's a connection why I was referring to this country. Ashutosh and I share a flip-flop master and disciple kind of a relationship. So, probably we know each other for more than 20 years. There was a time when I was in Calcutta and there was a possibility of going to Kanpur, and we had a chance to talk to each other And I figured out that Ashutosh was a Prof. And in his characteristic way, he said, no, my antenna is saying that you are going to come to Kanpur and be my boss. So it actually happened that way. And then subsequently, Ashutosh switched from Kanpur to DST. And when we would go and receive funding from DST, so we obviously must that's how it was. And so I left Kanpur and I said, by then Ashutosh also was about to complete his term. And then we switched our role. And then again, I had the privilege of seeing him as my boss at Indian National Science Academy. He's the current president, and I'm one of his deputies. So all these years, we have been enjoying this very nice hip-hop relationship. Sometimes he's the boss and it's circle, and sometimes he claims that I was his boss. So I would like to mention a few facets. We all know Ashutosh is a great scientist, great teacher, a very passionate technology policy maker. I also am sure that some of us, or both were sitting in the room, or some of us had the privilege of knowing him well. Of course, what is also because he's an excellent artist, one good expert, so that is a great thinker, and obviously a celebrated scientist and scientific leader. I had the privilege of working very closely with him on several occasions, on several national initiatives, and one of them is what we call his distinction. There was a time when the event was launched and Kanpur was made the national coordinator. And in the first round, we struggled for various reasons. There was no clarity about fund sharing or who would fund this hugely ambitious national initiative. So Ashutosh came to our rescue as Secretary DST. And in 2022, DST offered to share 50% of the funds. INAE was almost homeless, and we dealt with even Secretary DST. And Dr. Sharma was kind enough to give us an address at home, which fortunately we are still off. Over the years, what I've seen in Ashutosh is that more than maturity, he has developed certain foresight and vision, which certainly is very. He has brought in a lot of reforms wherever he went, whether it's DST or INSA or any other organization. He might be producing lesser number of publications or PhD students, but the amount of contribution he has made in the recent past in terms of creating science and technology policy and even overseeing implementation of them, certainly more than model, I would say, is an example for many of us. So those who are in this room are listening from remotely. I'm sure that Dr. Sharma is only 65 years young and deserves to be continuing in greater enthusiasm for years to come and make all of us even more proud. So thank you very much and happy birthday, Ashutosh, and I certainly would expect you to continue to be my and our boss as long as you could and make us immensely happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.